guys, welcome back to Cypress from Zero to Hero, and in this lesson we will install Cypress framework into our test application. So in order to install Cypress, open terminal and type command npm install Cypress --save dev. It's in order to save Cypress into the dependencies in package.json --force. Force is needed to skip different dependencies conflicts in case we will have it on our computer, and hit enter. Node package manager is downloading required dependencies and installation is completed. If you see the message like this, then found some vulnerabilities, just ignore this. This is normal. So when we open package.json and scroll it a little bit down, we can see that Cypress was added as a dependencies in package.json. It means that it was installed successfully. The next step, we need to run Cypress for the first time to open Cypress configurator. So we execute command npx cypress open. And when you run this command for the first time, Cypress will open configurator for you, which will look like this. So you hit continue. The next step, it will offer you what you would like to do: end-to-end testing or components testing. Component testing is a type of testing when you want to test a specific UI component of your web application in isolation. And end-to-end testing, this is a classical UI test automation in the browser that we want to do in this lesson. So I select E2E testing. The next step, Cypress will offer creation of configuration files. So we just choose everything by default. Click continue. And also you can see a list of available browsers. So I have Chrome, Chromium, Edge, Electron, and Firefox. And you will see all those browsers only if they are installed on your computer. So if you want to use Firefox or Microsoft Edge, you need first to download and install this browser on your computer, and then you will see this browser here in the list of available browsers. In this lesson, we will use Electron browser. This is built-in browser into the Cypress, and it's also built on the Chromium engine. So it is very similar to Chrome, and it's more convenient to use. And hit the button Start E2E. Then Cypress opens a Cypress Runner and offers you to create either a new spec file, which is a test file, or generate a Scaffold example specs, which is just examples of different tests. So let's, for the convenience, we create Scaffold example spec. This is the files that it will generate. Click OK. And we can see the tests are created right here. If we switch back to our project, we now see a new folder showed up in the root of the project, which calls Cypress. If I open it, it has E2E folder. This is the place where tests are located. And this is exactly the test that we are seeing in Cypress Runner. This is examples of the test. If I go back to the Cypress Runner, I can see this folder and the same lists of tests. And to run any of the test examples, you just simply click on this test and Cypress will run this test for you. You can see it's just a sample of the to-do application. Then you can on the left select any other tests. And now you can see Cypress in action. You can see tests running are pretty quick. Yeah. And also if you open any of those tests, you can see the log of the execution. One of the very cool features of the Cypress Runner that after the test execution, you can kind of back in time, hovering over mouse over each step that was performed. And on the right, you can see what Cypress was doing in the browser. So let me show another test. For example, this submit. You can see on the right, the section in the browser is highlighted what Cypress was doing. So it's pretty cool feature. All right, let's close this, go back to our project. And I would like to make one little change. So since our application is Angular, Cypress decided by default to create our project in TypeScript. You see Cypress config.ts, and here in supports folder, commands.ts and e2e.ts. But I would like to convert our Cypress project into just JavaScript. JavaScript is a little bit easier to use and we don't really need the typing support. So how to do that? So this is our configuration file and we need to make just a little change. I open Cypress documentation in the configuration page And here is the offer of two configuration types, Cypress config.js and Cypress config.ts. You can see the difference is just a very little from the syntax perspective. In the JS file, we need to use const define config requires Cypress, while in TS, it's import define config from Cypress. So I take this line as a JS and replace it over here, Command V. And then export default, I will need to replace module.export equals to define config. Module.export equals to define config. And the last thing, I need to rename my file to be JS. That's it. And also let's just rename the file e2e.ts to JS and commands.ts into JS. That's it. Entire project was converted to JavaScript. I check it one more time. And Cypress opens successfully. All right, everything is working. Closing this. And the last thing, let's quickly review the structure of the framework. So when you run Cypress for the first time, it will create a Cypress folder in the root of your project. Under the Cypress folder, you have three other folders, E2E, fixtures, and support. So let's start with the support folder. Under support folder, you have two files, e2e.js. This file is executed as a very first thing when you run your test. So this file can be a good place for some code that you want to execute before all your tests. For example, to set up your environment or something like that. And we will talk about it a little bit later in the class. Then commands.js. Commands.js is the file that you can use to create your own custom commands. And as a best practice, you should keep here only the commands that can be used across entire framework. For example, a login command, right? It can be used in every test, so it's a good place to put it over here. The next folder is a fixtures folder. Fixture folder usually is a place where you can keep your JSON files. These JSON files can hold your test data or hold the response for the mock APIs or something like that. So we talk about the fixtures later in this class. And E2E folder is the place where you pretty much keep your test. By default, Cypress created for us two folders with the examples of the test, and we will create our own test inside of this folder. And the last file, which is located in the root of the project, which is cypress.config.js, is the configuration file of the Cypress, where you define all configuration of the Cypress framework. And first Cypress configuration I will show you in the next lesson. All right, that's it, guys, and see you in the next lesson.